Like, you know, think about her entire career was just damage control. You know what I mean? Like,
I can't imagine
lightning bolts out of his hands. Like, I just feel like that's
God.
that's how I see Mark Carney. I just
A statement released by Freeland this morning was just one line: "I'm running to fight for Canada."
Instead of actually fixing the problem, it's like, how do you spend that much money? Like, I'm just curious. I'm just increased by.
Yeah.
That's in addition
a portion of this
to what it was already. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's no parties in between the Liberal and Conservative. This is literally the lead the Conservatives have right now. So
our party has survived a lot of dissent. I think we see on the other side of the aisle a party.
Grounded TV. Hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry about the technical difficulties we had, and I gotta make sure Saul's audio is coming through again because check. Everything was set up early. I was ready to go, and I was like just finishing the last touch of my camera, and then all of a sudden I bumped my knee and I just hit the power cord and shut my computer off. And I was like, oh, great, okay. So I apologize to everybody who was sitting there waiting for us to start there, and then we ended up just ending the stream. Yeah, definitely pulled. Had some technical difficulties, almost like we're a certain public broadcast network. But welcome everybody. And yeah, we're gonna be getting into Chrystia Freeland joining the race today.
Oh yeah, I saw that
yesterday. I guess, yeah. But well, the thing is, it does matter because, you know, like this is pretty significant because more than likely, whoever this
I don't know why
is going to end up being prime minister for a short, very, very short period of time. But they will be prime minister. So I feel like it's a pretty big deal who wins this race, just in my opinion. So we have been following it pretty closely, and we're going to continue to do so. We're going to start off just kind of going through some stuff from yesterday that was broadcast on CPAC. Just a couple different announcements. Going to see what little golden nuggets are hiding in here. And then after this, we'll move on to some mainstream newsreel, just kind of covering the same topic. A couple panels, just get us talking and get the audience talking and give us things to kind of discuss or disagree on or debate on. So, yeah. Anyways, we'll start with this without further ado, since we're a little bit behind with the technical difficulties. But
can you stream into Discord, please?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sharon. There you go, Saul. Okay.
All right. He hasn't anybody clapped like that for him in a while.
Oh, he's resigning. They're happy. I saw footage where these people were like in this giant crowd of building. I don't know where it was, but they were watching the resignation announcement. And as soon as he said he was resigning, the whole crowd started cheering. And I was like, I don't think they realized what this really meant, right? Everybody thought he was just, he's done. It's over. But it's like, no. We have months more of this liberal pain, and they're squabbling over who's going to be in control, all that stuff. So yeah, it's great. But anyways.
This is kind of what I was getting at earlier, just saying, like, not a lot of people really understand the process or what's going on, right? They'll just start paying attention as the election starts. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, the Pierre guy, I wonder who he is, you know, like they don't even know yet.
Yeah, fair. I feel like, I don't know, everyone knows who Pierre is at this point. He's been campaigning for how long?
You'd be surprised, man. Like, some people kind of know, like they're familiar, but they don't really know. Like they haven't looked into it much yet.
I don't know. It's just, to me, like, I guess I forget. Like, I don't talk to many people who aren't, like, even people who aren't that politically aware, who like used to never talk about politics with me. I'll mention Mark Carney, and they know who Mark Carney is now, and they know either by carbon tax Carney or that governor of the Bank of England dude. You know, that's who they know him as, right? And I think it's really funny because the Conservatives have been seeing this for a long time, and I don't think they're worried about Freeland as much as they're worried about Mark Carney. They've been coming at him for a while.
I agree.
Just kind of like getting the public ready. Like, this is Mark Carney. He's carbon tax Carney. He loves the carbon tax. And like, to be fair, one of the things he did was defend it. He defended
the best thing that they've got to do is they have to try and link those two together as much as they can, right? That's why they've been saying carbon tax Carney. He's just like Justin. It's exact same person. There's no difference, right? Like, that's the goal here. And like with Chrystia Freeland, they don't even have to try, really. She's already been with Justin the whole time. She was his biggest advocate for the longest time, you know? He didn't throw it under the bus until just like a month ago or whenever. And until then, they were in lockstep together.
Yeah. Hey, 2 cents. Hey, Cryptomira. Nice to see you guys. Welcome back. Welcome back as well, Tamo. Yeah, -24 sounds pretty cool. It's like it's close to the same here. Oh, hey, welcome back, Hurricane. How was Greece? Saw you posting all those all that stuff in the Discord. That's pretty cool. I was like, wow, like the kind of made me realize like when you post all that stuff in the Discord, I was like, wow, this community is really growing. Everyone's getting in touch with each other. It's really cool to see. So hope you're enjoying your time back or abroad, whichever you're at now. But anyways, yeah, we'll continue on with this announcement. It's 5 minutes, guys. So we're gonna watch this of Trudeau here, because you know what? As much as everybody is upset, like, you know, hates him, I'm gonna miss this. I'm gonna miss where you can just crap all over him all day, and it's super easy.
He's
and everybody
remarkably easy.
He makes it easy. Like, everything he does, and like Mark Carney's gonna take that away from us. I know he's gonna be easy to pick apart in terms of his policies. I feel like it's gonna become to a point where it's like, okay, like.
Not as easy with Trudeau, dude. Trudeau, he's like
but like
he's the George W. Bush of the left, you know, like he's like so easy to make fun of.
Feet below your feet, like, you know, like, and
oh yeah, absolutely.
But I was like thinking, I was like, you know, what are all these channels gonna do once Trudeau's out of office? Because we won't be able to make fun of him anymore. And there's so many channels that are just dedicated to making the Liberals look bad. And I'm like, you know, I hope we're able to shift that in the right direction and everything. And we're scrutinizing Poilievre just as hard, and Carney. Even if Carney's just official opposition leader, we should be scrutinizing all of them, right? None of them are, you know, all their crap stinks, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if anyone has any personal.
All the heavy lifting's been done with. Justin's such an easy person. He's right from the start. He's been a scandalous guy, right? And a lot of people's admiration of him, if they have it, like the people who did admire him, it's very, very surface level, right? Like he's not an easy person to advocate for. He never really has been, just because he's kind of crap. Like there's a reason I linked him up with how if you
was just advocating for Trudeau's bullcrap, was just talking back Trudeau's.
He needed,
like, you know, think about her entire career, was just damage control. You know what I mean? Like
I can't imagine working for somebody who's like basically relying completely on everybody behind him to do all the heavy lifting. They're the ones who know what to do. And at the same time, as you make these decisions and as he takes credit for them, he'll also throw you under the bus if anything happens. He won't let everybody know how integral you were to the success of this until it fails. And then he'll be like, oh, it was actually them. I'm firing them. Yeah, I'm mad at them too. Can you believe this guy? You know, like he's like acts like he's on our side.
Well, I was just thinking it'd be funny because if LeBlanc became official opposition, then I'd be like, you know, that would really suck, because then we'd have to, like, you know, we never understand what's, like, you know, like when they're so reluctant to speak English, everything would be through
way too much French. Yeah.
And then I had a realization, I'm like, oh, that's probably how the francophones feel.
Yeah,
you know, they'd probably be pretty happy to see it. But I thought it was kind of funny, because they're definitely gonna have to start amping up the French learnings, which is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Okay, like I'm not even gonna.
They're not very similar languages.
It's not the like the writing is somewhat similar. It's the pronunciation and enunciating the words properly that's difficult. And I don't even want to try on stream yet. Like eventually one day I will, but not yet, until I get a little bit better at it. I don't want to embarrass myself that hard. But anyways, let's push on with this. But glad to see you're back from Greece, Hurricane. Hope it was a great trip. Yeah, 2 cents with LeBlanc. Yeah, no worries. Oh, Linda in the chat. No, I'm glad to see him go. Carney is horrible. We do not want him. Yeah, I don't want Carney either. However, I think he's got much better shot at restoring the party to official opposition than any other Liberal leader possibly would. Chrystia, Freeland even possibly. Just because there's so many people who are just so like locked into voting for conservative or liberal. I really think, especially a lot of like the older generations, like I don't think there's going to be many people voting for like federal NDP. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the liberal, like regardless what the polling says, if Mark Carney or Chrystia Freeland becomes leader, the polls are probably going to, like the numbers will go up for the Liberals for sure. And I think they'll be able to.
They will, yeah.
They're just under
even Freeland would
in certain polls, and they did, I think recently since Trudeau resigned, actually went up in the polls a little bit by like 5 points.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Carney has a better shot for sure at like actually getting some votes in the federal election. Chrystia Freeland, she'll do better than Trudeau, but again, the bar is in hell. So what does that really mean?
Well, I'd say it's like in the dark depths of the Marianas Trench, I think was, but at the same time, I think
I don't know. He seemed
got a
really
point,
thrown off.
But at the same time, so does the reporter. The reporter's got a point. It's like,
Yeah,
what are
no,
you doing?
he
Here,
doesn't
wasting
have
all
a-
this money. Like, go just be with your family in your cottage.
No, dude, because
like just go, go hide, go listen to Taylor Swift, drink some herbal tea. I bet you love peppermint tea, buddy. I imagine.
No, the thing is that
so.
saying you're fighting for Canadians, everybody says that for one,
From
doesn't
coast to
mean
coast.
any. What does that mean? What does that mean? What are you fighting? Who are you fighting? What's the cause that you're championing right now? What are you pushing forward here? What are you actually doing for us? And it's like that people just give these vague generalities like, I'm gonna make it so housing is more affordable and the food is cheaper and everybody's gonna have more money in their pocket. You know, like it's like, okay, great, thanks. That's what everybody is promising us. So it doesn't really mean anything if there isn't like a plan attached to that, right? It's just vague nothing speak.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the difference between Pierre and what the Liberals have said previously, right? And I guess that's where, and the difference between Mark Carney and Trudeau, right? And I think that's what kind of worried me about like what I was saying in the last, when we were watching Mark Carney's whole announcement and everything. I was just saying, we have to give credit where it's due. And the thing why the Conservatives are afraid of him is because of he's a lot smarter and a lot more competent than Trudeau. But like I said, that bar is not super high. And I think he's going to outperform Trudeau in every metric. However, we don't even know for sure if he'll end up being the leader. It could be Chrystia Freeland. Right now, the only two real contenders are Chrystia Freeland and Trudeau. Those are really the only two that I think anyone should be paying attention to. And I remember saying that like early on with most of them, and most of them ended up dropping out. As soon as Mark Carney was entering, $350,000 entrance fee. Yeah, it's like you thought you were entering the CFL, but no, it's the NFL, buddy. Like that's basically what happened. Like they thought they were doing CFL tryouts, or they thought they were going to try out for the Lions, which apparently is a lot more softball than trying out for an NFL team, right? So apparently we're a joke with the CFL a little bit, but the CFL, I like the CFL personally. I'll watch a Lions game. I've seen a lot of Lions games. I'd go to the Grey Cup personally. I think that would be just an awesome Canadian tradition to do. I remember watching that episode of Corner Gas where Brett goes to the Grey Cup, and I was like, I want to do that someday. I want to be just like Brett from Corner Gas, eating chili cheese dogs, not caring about my figure very much. Maybe eventually need glasses. I stared at a computer screen too long. I thought I'd lose my hair one day, but I don't think that'll happen. So I'm pretty happy about that.
It's just accepted it. You're like, yeah, it'll probably happen. I'll probably lose my hair.
I was saying I should start getting like a bowling shirt that says Grounded TV and just like a black.
I've been telling myself that my whole life too. I'm like, just don't get used to it, buddy. It's gonna go.
Excuse me. Speaking of those specific industries, I guess it's a kind of a related thing. What we have heard other outside experts kind of guesstimate what the impact would be of all of this on Canada. But we haven't heard the government's own numbers about what the impact on Canada would be in terms of our GDP, our economy, our job losses nationally. Can you give us that today, given that you haven't given us an indication that any of Canada's arguments are landing right yet? So what is your estimate of the national economic picture that is looming?
Well, I think that we're taking these tariff threats very, very seriously because we know that the impacts on Canadians would be really, really, really difficult. And why I'm saying that is we know that there would be lots of job loss across the country. And we know that this would...
Can the devil replace the devil? That's what I'm saying. We're going to see Mark Carney come out. Like as soon as he's Liberal leader, he's just going to come out in dark robes. His face is going to be paler. And he's just going to have like these, he's going to look like Emperor Palpatine a little bit. He's going to shoot lightning bolts out of his hands. Like I just feel like that's how I see Mark Carney. I just feel like he's part of this Davos elitist globalist agenda. I'm all for North. Saul laughs at me, but he doesn't think it's real. Like that's the thing. It's like
it's not. I just don't think that that's a good way to base it on. Like all of these leaders have ties to those people, to those Davos people.
I guess that's why Pierre Poilievre is attractive.
Yeah, he's a real
outsider. In that terms,
to that world, he is.
Yeah. Not to the. Obviously, he was a big player in the Harper government but I feel like where the Harper government will not be a reflection of what Pierre's Conservative Party will be. And it's not just Pierre, like just the rest of his MPs, like his whole party. I have a pretty good feeling about at this point in terms of they're going to be this kind of more, like I said, common sense approach to things. That's what I believe, but I know Saul doesn't agree with me. Saul's very reluctant to take the rhetoric, but
I'm just not a big fan of libertarians.
Cabinets, yeah. They infiltrated the cabinets. Yeah.
For economic stuff, I think libertarianism is just gets a little bit extreme for me.
Would also have an impact on cost of living for Canadians. I won't go into the details of what that figure is like, but definitely we have numbers that are highlighting how much this could be devastating. This would be basically starting a trade war. The Americans would be starting a trade war.
See, this lady is terrifying that she's involved in this because, yeah, she wanted to shut down Line 5, I believe. She wanted to shut down like major energy export to the U.S. like in a day without consulting the provinces.
It's already going to get shut down though because people aren't going to want to buy it anymore if it's 25% tariff on it.
But we'll see. Oh, I think it's still.
I don't know.
It still might be.
It's hard for me to understand.
In some cases,
maybe, yeah.
That's what I mean. Is it'll piss
do a higher tariff
off.
then. Increase the price and tariff it. If that's what they want to do. They want to play hardball. We can play hardball. We can do it. Like, I don't know what else we're supposed to do here, right? He's being ridiculous. This is a ridiculous thing. We don't deserve to be tariffed like that. We haven't done anything for that. They were the ones who negotiated the last trade deal. What are these tariffs for? You should have put those restrictions on before. And like, they'll say this stuff about tightening up the border, but it's like, it's our shared border. So be specific. Do you want like a $2 billion pledge every year? Do you want a $50 billion pledge every year? What do you want? What do you want us to do? Because we'll do it. Nobody wants these tariffs. We're willing to work with you. But if you're just vaguely saying, no, I'm gonna tariff you and we'll see if you guys can meet my standards, it's like,
I don't really think I don't think that's really quite what it is, but
that's just how I feel about
to put it. But I feel like it's a little reductive.
Maybe that's how I feel with Trump. How he's so vague that it's like, how are we even supposed to meet this guy's standards?
I don't know. I'm not gonna get. I don't want to get too sidetracked with this whole debate about how specific he was.
Sure,
I think he was pretty specific in certain things. Just there wasn't a goalpost outlined. That's it.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's like,
the problem.
Let's put some effort
that's the problem for me.
Let's show a response. Why don't we ask him? Hey, what will it take for you not to implement the tariffs? What can
they have?
Possibly
that's what they've been saying.
But at this point,
that's what they've been saying.
There's been all these players like Melanie Joly and other liberals, the Team Canada approach, kind of messing and muddying the water. So what does he think is coming? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and not to mention, he's being told to ignore them basically by not just Kevin O'Leary, I imagine, by a lot of people. Because like, yeah, there's an election. There's no, they don't have popular support. Like no one's gonna be a fan of whatever deal they achieve with you. Like, it's just like it just seems like a huge waste of time to achieve anything at this point. And there's not much we can do.
What do you think that
because of this purgation, because of the resignation, we're kind of just stuck in this chaotic situation because of the way liberals handled everything over the last year.
What do you think that that Pierre wants to do? Like, what's his plan moving forward? Isn't it pretty similar? Isn't he also advocating that we should do counter tariffs, that we should play hardball, we should try and find other places to export our resources to?
Off. He hasn't said shut the power.
No, but I feel like
counter tariffs
he'd be
and talk. Like he's talked about. From what I understand, he's just going to negotiate, and I don't think it'll be very hard.
I just feel like
I think Trump's administration is giving this government a hard time because they know of the lack of public support these people have, and they probably want to retain Canada's popular support. You know what I mean?
I think he would have done it either way, though, because even with the Pierre stuff, like they asked him that Pierre said he wouldn't be willing to become a 51st state or whatever. And he was like, well, maybe he won't win. Maybe he will. We'll see what happens. Like, that's what he said. Like it's not like he just wants to change the leadership here. He just wants everybody to think like, I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want. That's what I think he's trying to establish here.
At the same time, you also got to realize that we're kind of not pulling our own weight, right? Like talk about like the NATO play, like all this stuff all these issues that they've pointed out about us, not just Trump, but people within the Biden administration have pointed to issues in Canada's national security, in the Northern Arctic border, in the lack of NATO contributions. People in Biden's administration have done that, and they're still ignoring it. They just ignore it. They just ignore it. They don't care. So why else wouldn't Trump? You know what I mean? Like it's time. Honestly, about time the Americans did tell us to get our crap together, because somebody has to. It doesn't seem like we're gonna listen to anybody else.
I mean, I feel like they're just that's so vague. Get your crap together. What exactly? If they have specific requirements they want us to meet, we should be doing our best to get to those. If they don't have specific requirements, if the requirements or what they're asking for is vague, what are we supposed to do with that? Like, just jump until you say it's good enough? Like, I don't know. That's if you're not being specific, we're not able to hold our end of the bargain. If I tell my kids do a good job on the kitchen, that's not specific enough. They're going to come down. They're like, is it a good enough job yet? Is it good enough? Is it done yet? Is it done yet?
Well,
It's like you have to be very specific. You'd be like, I want the counters cleaned. I want all the dishes gone. I want this, you know.
We got someone in the chat. Czar, he said, repeal the bills that stop our energy and rapidly open up our own energy immediately. His plan is to start producing it ourselves as fast as possible. So I was wondering what your sources are, Czar. And if we can have a clip of him actually outlining.
But even that, what is
here? Maybe give Saul an answer.
No, he's right, because that's roughly what he was saying before. But the reason I asked what he was saying we should do is because I don't think it's that different from what the Liberals are doing right now. I think there's only one strategy here. The strategy is we got to play ball. If he wants to do tariffs, we're doing counter tariffs. You want to start.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, but he put us in this situation. We can't forget that. We can't blame everything. You can say that, but I think he would have done this regardless of who was in charge right now. I don't think it has to do with Justin.
If we were the most well-behaved in a sense, in terms of the world stage, and we actually took these agreements seriously. Well, I mean, like taking these agreements seriously. Like if there's an agreement to receive, to be part of this alliance, to contribute a certain amount every year, and we haven't been doing it for like over a decade. Like it just seems weird. It just seems like, why haven't we been doing that? Like it's like,
when was the last time we met that 2%?
I think it was like 2016. I think it was a long time ago. I don't know if we ever have. Honestly, it was a long time ago. We already weren't in Trump's first administration and Trudeau's first term. And the Conservatives are just as much to blame as Trudeau for this. And I'm talking to Canada as a whole. So Harper's Conservatives and Trudeau's administration are both to blame for this situation. So, and it might have even started before then. I think some people have said it was Chrystia who first started cutting back money on national defense.
The goal, that 2% spending goal, wasn't actually implemented into the NATO policy until 2014. Apparently. So it's a pretty recent thing. Canada's they don't have any plans to reach it until 2032, which in my opinion isn't good enough. Like we should be stepping it up there for sure. But that's not what Trump said, right? He wasn't like, oh, as soon as you guys meet your NATO spending goal, we'll remove the tariffs. Because if he did that, that's easy. We can do that, right? Well, it's not easy, but we'll figure out a way. At least it's a goal we can actually, like it's a line we can cross for him.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing before we continue on about all these things. When we mentioned the things that have been problems for over 20 plus years, Trudeau's administration had a long time to react and address these issues, and they didn't, right? And they went with the normal liberal MO, which is let's just ignore it until it blows up in our faces, and then apologize for not cleaning up sooner, and then sometimes not even clean it up. You know what I mean? That's kind of what they do. This liberal administration of Trudeau's
use our levers well, that we can make sure that Americans backtrack. And that's why I've been saying everything is on the table, and we have to be able to show how much.
That part's important. We should leave everything on the table. We shouldn't be cutting things off the table and saying we're not going to do this before he's even come into office. For sure. We should be saying everything's on the table. Hold our cards close to our chest. Why are we telling him where our line is and what we won't do?
Went on a media tour and told
she said we would do this. We are having everything on the table. That's not the same as saying we're not going to cross this line, because if you do that, then he knows where your limit is. He knows how far you can push him. Don't tell him everything you're willing to do. You can say you're willing, or sorry, don't tell him what you're not willing to do. Because that's not a good way to, you don't say I don't have any high cards in my hand right now, right?
You know what? Border issue? Yes, we're addressing it. We have a great border plan, $1.3 billion, more boots on the ground, more drones,
see, they're like my kids right now. They're like, is this good enough? Did I wipe the counters good enough? It's like they don't know. Or maybe they should know. I don't know, but that's different. That's with my kids.
Yeah,
but in this specific situation, they really don't know. They don't know what he wants.
I think your kids would be doing a better job at this.
You don't know that though, because they just said they pledged like almost $2 billion to it. What more are they supposed to do?
Well, that's what they do. Throw money at the problem, right? I don't know. Like, let's just see what ends up happening.
What else are you supposed to do? What else are you supposed to do?
We're just speculating. We're just speculating.
Exactly.
There's canine units, etc. And so we are preoccupied with also the border. We don't want your guns. We don't want illegal drugs coming from your side of the border. We will make sure that doesn't happen on our side. And this is a win-win. So technically, there's no issue with tariffs because the border issue is linked to tariffs. And so the reaction from Tom Homan, the border czar himself, was extremely positive. He went on the news, said that was positive also. And so when I talk about that in Washington, people are reassured and they think, indeed, it is a win. And indeed, they're happy that Canada is moving in that direction. When I talk about the tariffs themselves and their impact, people in Washington are surprised. And when I mention the impacts of a Trump tariff tax on Americans, they're not only surprised, they're very worried. There's a level of disorganization that is happening in any transition. And so, while we've been very organized on the border and very organized in really talking about tariffs, people in Washington are just settling in. And so this is all
it's
new
chaos over
information.
there too. That's true.
And so I think we still have a case to make. We have to continue to put pressure. Those that have gone through the steel and aluminum tariffs and what we did at the time very much remember how much this had an impact on their constituency. Don't want to see that again. But that's why we still have to do the work of talking to not only the Howard Lutnicks and the people that are part of the administration, but also the entire Hill. So I hope I'm answering your question right now, because I think Canadians need to know that while the entire country is united and that we will continue to defend Canadians and will never back down, at the same time, Americans are just waking up to this possibility.
About basically the same thing. So that whole Melanie Jolie conference, like I don't know, like I think we discussed it enough throughout that video about that. I think we'll move on to a new topic now, because I feel like we've been talking about the Trump tariffs a lot this week, talking about the first minister's meeting, and as well as this Liberal leadership race heating up. What's gonna really, like at this point, what we're looking at is between Freeland and Carney for Liberal leadership, regardless of how we feel about them, or they won't get elected in the formal election. If they get elected as party leader, there's a chance they will be prime minister for about 3 to 6 weeks at the very least, possibly longer, depending on what Jagmeet Singh does, because Jagmeet Singh might like Mark Carney.
True.
You know what I mean? So we can be stuck with whoever this is to October.
He's not gonna like the. He's gonna be crapping all over them, dude. He thinks he can be the prime minister.
It's an unfortunate possibility that we could be stuck with this Liberal, whoever this leader is till October. It's possible. So I just think it's like it's not completely off the table, I think. Which
Sure.
I don't know. To me is a little bit
I'll give you that.
But anyways.
Announcement this weekend, Chrystia Freeland has
This is from CP24, by the way, guys.
confirmed that she is running for the Liberal leadership. A statement released by Freeland this morning was just one line: "I'm running to fight for Canada."
That's her announcing one line. That's it. That's what I mean. It could just be a
same
dummy.
answer as Trudeau.
It could just be a dummy run, just to run in contestant to Mark Carney, and then she could end up becoming Mark Carney's deputy leader, because maybe
yeah.
He's the godfather to her children, so they have.
She's
some
not.
relationship.
She's not going to make. There's no way he's making her deputy leader. No way.
Hey, Rhonda, welcome back. Carney is a Carney. Yeah. Someone was calling him Mark the Carney.
Freeland is expected to formally launch her campaign on Sunday. A source close to Freeland tells CTV News the consumer carbon tax will not be a part of her policy platform. Meanwhile, Mark Carney has officially launched his Liberal leadership campaign yesterday in Edmonton, where he grew up. The former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England is looking to place himself as a political outsider. In his campaign launch speech, the 59-year-old criticized both the Trudeau government's fiscal policy and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. The Liberals will elect a new leader to succeed Trudeau on March 9th. She had a
well, this is what I mean, right? It's like, as much as she can try, she can't really separate herself from Trudeau, right? Like she can't. Like, I feel like it's going to be near impossible, and that's where Mark Carney's appealing. I feel like her running is just a joke at this point, just to kind of like act as some competition for Mark Carney here, and it's not just some.
I think that might
move that they had planned all along since her resignation, because I feel like since her resignation, this was the plan. I feel like this was the plan, and she's going to rally behind Mark Carney, or Mark Carney's going to rally behind her. I feel like that's what it's going to be. Like,
they're probably she's probably testing the water. There's probably got people who are telling her to do it. I don't think it's a good idea. I think they should just all rally behind Carney. Although they don't want to give the appearance of that, because maybe Trudeau can endorse.
They've literally been saying,
Freeland or something.
planning this for a while, that they were planning on ousting Trudeau and putting Carney in his place. And look what's happening right now. Look how it's all unfolding. You know what I mean?
Chrystia Freeland as a fake candidate so that she can get all the endorsements from the
controlled
liberals
opposition,
that everybody
honestly,
hates.
just to make it look like there's some competition for leadership, and they didn't just mess with this Democratic.
Smart.
You know what I mean? Like, because it's like if there's only
I don't know
one
if they're that
candidate,
smart,
is it
honestly,
even really
but-
is it even really a race? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they don't want to get like Char what is his name? Arya Chandra. It's like, what? You really think you're gonna win, buddy? Like, no, you're all just a bunch of dummy candidates to either get some fame.
He might
or
actually
to make
think
it look like
though.
there's some competition here. That's all.
I think some of these people are pretty out of touch. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
That is like torch. Like.
What's the deficit on that? Like, what's
$662 billion.
No. I mean, like for a year.
Like how much interest?
Like year for year. Like how much are we GDPing? Like what's the balance there? Like how much is coming in and how much is going out? They've been inflating
the GDP by importing temporary foreign workers. They've literally you admitted it, that literally by having all these foreign workers and having more people working can help inflate the GDP to a degree, right? Or make it look like they're help the GDP in a sense, right? So I feel like they're trying to compensate by importing all these people from other countries and put them to work, trying to make it.
Well,
seem
it can
like
increase
things
your
aren't as bad as they are.
overall GDP, but it won't increase your GDP per capita.
But that's what I mean, right? It's like it allows them to say these crappy little taglines that aren't even true, and when people can feel our economy is not doing well. We don't need, you know what I mean? It's just it's very obvious.
It's not great.
It's glaringly obvious.
You gotta give me a second.
I'm just saying, like, this is kind of where I'm at with this. It's just like it's just ridiculous that we're even in this position. It's sad. It's like the fact that I was literally talking to my friend about this the other day, saying like, this is how we know he's literally the worst prime minister ever, like ever since 1867. He is the worst prime minister ever. And I think everybody can agree on that. Like $62 billion was just the year. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like more than any, it's just, this whole thing is just, it's wild. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. You know what I mean? And it hurts sometimes when I'm thinking about like, what does this, like, how do we not see this sooner? Why were we not, demanding change sooner? Like we were, and like what was the Freedom Convoy? Well, that was due to the mandates. That wasn't due to the spending. That wasn't due to the economy. Like, I think we should have been rallying for that. And I think if everybody had known how bad things were, and it's probably worse than those numbers are from what I'm getting. Like we'll find out what's really going on after this administration leaves government. And they can only use COVID as an excuse for so long to like. There's no other reason to be that much debt. Like there's other countries aren't. Why are we? It is putting lipstick on a pig, Rob. That's what they did to our GDP. I feel like that's what they were trying to do, and they're trying to make it seem like it's not as bad as it is. But it's like, instead of actually fixing the problem, it's like, how do you spend that much money? Like I'm just curious. How
COVID.
Like, no, but it's not just COVID. Not that much though. Not that.
If you look at this, like how much more did Justin Trudeau? Because I'm looking at spending. Look at federal program spending. What is this on specifically?
Like, there's no excuse to be in this bad of a position.
Trudeau government spending hits all-time high, including years of war and recession. Fraser Institute, but Harper is like almost up there with them. Like Harper's at 8,810. I think these are per capita, and Trudeau's 9,066. Like he didn't even beat him. The only one who had an actual dip in their numbers was
before COVID, though, because didn't he kind of like basically get us in debt before COVID even came? Like we were already in a lot of debt.
Yeah, this is up till 2019 is what I'm looking at here. Yeah. So that's not even including his COVID spending.
We were already in a bad
total
spot.
Spending,
and then he made it. You know what I mean? Like it's just. Yeah, well, I don't think Ukraine. I don't think we sent more than like 10 billion total, didn't we? It was like 9 something billion we've sent total to that situation. We pledged more. But I think
that's basically us trying to make up for our NATO underspending spending on NATO.
Yeah, that's related to NATO spending, in my opinion. I just think they don't want to admit it is. Because then they admit NATO's directly involved in the war, and that would escalate tensions.
Government's able to balance budget during.
But I could be wrong on that.
Power.
Sweet to government has been spending a lot, anyways. Yeah, always. Anyways,
I'm trying to find the curve per capita.
We're gonna get into a couple panels here to get us talking about can Freeland separate herself from Trudeau in Liberal leadership race? Power play with Mike Lecoutier, who's actually pretty good too. I don't mind this guy. He Who did he have an interview with right at the holidays? I think it was Mark Miller. Right before Christmas, he did an interview with somebody, and I thought it was really good. And I got a lot more respect for this guy watching that interview. Who was it? I can't remember, blanking on who it was. I feel like it was a liberal we were watching on here, and he was just grilling them so hard. And it was like, you're probably accusing them of, I think it might have been LeBlanc, where he was accusing the prime minister just hiding and abandoning everybody, basically, and hiding from Canadians. And that was this guy.
There's a Globe and Mail wrote an article on this. Jake Fuss and Grady Munro. I don't know who these people are, but they're kind of just talking about it.
Yeah, throw it. Send it to me on Discord. I'll pull
I put it in the Discord. Yeah. Wonder when this was. Oh, it's published an hour ago. So this is like a brand new. Oh no, wait. This is the archived. It was archived on the 7th of January though, so it's a recent article. Unsurprisingly, government was unable to balance the budget during Mr. Trudeau's 9 years in power.
Justin Trudeau's fiscal legacy, record high spending and massive debt. This is from November 3rd, 2022. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau informed
No, that's just the picture is from November 3rd, 2022. This article was written it was written like a week ago.
Okay. Jake Fuss and Grady Munro on Monday, after weeks of turmoil and speculation, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told Canadians he will resign after the Liberal Party chooses a new leader. Nobody wants to talk about his legacy. The numbers don't lie. For example, from 2018 to 2023, the Trudeau government recorded the 6th highest levels of spending on a per-person basis after adjusting for inflation in Canadian history, even after excluding emergency spending during the pandemic, higher than during the Great Depression. Oh, really? I think I've said stuff like that before, and you told me I was crazy.
Yeah, but spending being above the Great Depression doesn't mean that we're in worse living conditions.
Both world wars and the height of the global financial crisis in 2008 to 2009. Unsurprisingly, the government was unable to balance the budget. So then ran 9 consecutive deficits, including an astonishing $61.9 billion deficit for 2023 to 24, the largest of any year outside of 2020. The result, historically high levels of government debt from 2020 to 2023. The government racked up the 4 highest years of total federal debt per person in Canadian history, compared with 2015. Federal debt per person has increased by $14,127 in just the last year. Holy.
That's a portion of the debt accumulation.
Increased by.
Yeah.
That's in addition to what it was already.
Accumulation took place during the pandemic. A sizable chunk of federal COVID-related spending was wasteful, and federal debt increased significantly before, during, and after the pandemic. In short, you can't blame COVID-19 for the Trudeau government's wild spending and borrowing spree. This is an opinion article, just so everybody knows.
That was the point here.
Spending defines Mr. Trudeau's fiscal legacy.
Article, you can find it over at the Globe and Mail. Justin Trudeau's fiscal legacy, record high spending, and massive debt. For those who want to go check that out over there by Jake Fuss and Grady Munro. Give them a little bit of a shout out there. So they compiled that data to get together for us. And one of my friends I was talking to before was telling me about the same thing. It's like we're just he's literally the worst prime minister in history in terms of the economy. And you can't.
And under Mr. Trudeau, Canada,
the pandemic. You know what I mean?
There's other stuff too here, because it says under Mr. Trudeau, Canada has had an abysmal investment record from 2014 to 2022. The latest year of available data, inflation adjusted total business investment in plants, machinery, equipment, and new technologies, but excluding residential construction in Canada declined by $34 billion during the same period after adjusting for inflation.
Because we have someone in the chat saying they shut down the country based on a hoax. Like, that's absolute bullshit. Like, it wasn't a hoax. Like, it was real. It's just the response I didn't fully agree with, and I thought was overreaching.
They're overreacting.
Over the top, but it was real. And when you say it was a hoax, you just discredit anyone who questions this government. And that's
the problem. I was thinking about this earlier, and like one of the things that I try to do is if I'm going to criticize Donald Trump, I try not to go into any of the things that are not really easy to prove. Like I'll never say like he's a P word or he's an R word or whatever. Like I'll say that actually I can say he's an R word. He was convicted in a court, or a convicted R word. But regardless of that, all I'm trying to say is you should try to stick to things that you can actually find evidence for. And when we spend all this time saying like, oh, the entirety of COVID was a hoax, or we're saying things like Trudeau's at Diddy parties and stuff, and it's like, even if you think those things, you should try to stick to the things that you can actually show evidence for, because if you can, then people are going to take what you say more seriously. But if you spend all your time on things that are speculative, people are going to take what you say less seriously, right? They'll just inevitably be like, oh, well, this guy believes a lot of crazy stuff. Even something that's true, they might assume that it's fake just because you've said other things that might not be as easy to prove, right? So I just think it's important to keep that in mind.
But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not, like, the thing to me is, like, I think the response was kind of botched in a sense and incompetent. And there was a lot of things people can argue what we should have done differently, but I think that they did a lot of things wrong. And I think we can all agree on that, regardless of where you sit, which side of the fence you're on. Oh, new subscriber, Roger Langell. Thanks for subscribing, buddy. But like, what I'm trying to say is like, this is what I mean is when you say it just didn't happen and it's just a bunch of lies and everything. If everything is, if nothing is true, then everything is true. If everything is a lie, then nothing is a lie, right? Yeah, I don't really care. I'm not sure. Whatever, man. Screw you. I don't care.
Was Mark Carney yesterday in Edmonton launching his leadership campaign. The former governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England is now seeking the Liberal leadership. As you heard there, his focus will be
We're trying not to, 2 cents. It's bad for the algorithm.
Trigger words. I'm trying to avoid trigger words, but I can't help myself.
Try and get off that.
I'm just saying the events of 2020. Like, I try and look at it as now, like, I hope we can put it all behind us. And, like, you know, because people, I had a lot of family relationships just completely destroyed. Friends who think I was a nut job. You know, I just did what? And I moved all the way up where? To the North Pole? Like, I must be a lunatic, right? Like, everyone thought I was nuts. But at the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, I'm really glad I made the decisions I did, because it led me down this other path of just seeing life in a different way. And now I'm pretty happy with where I live now and the pace that this place is, and, you know, the quiet, living so close to nature, all that stuff. And that never would have happened if I didn't get all freaked out, right? And I'm glad that happened. And looking at it now, I'm like, I think I was justified in reacting the way I did. I think a lot of people were. And I think that was the problem, is that the Canadian government wasn't hearing their citizens and was just ignoring them and trying to paint them as a bunch of racist domestic terrorists, essentially. And I just probably said a couple more.
I think the other thing that we have to,
but
just something that I learned a lot too at the time was that because I never did that, right? Like, I mean, I obviously disagreed with you guys on a lot of that stuff, but I was never like making you out to be crazy people who like can't be reasoned with, and this is totally unreasonable. Like I've said before, like there's a lot of people in my life that if you had told me ahead of time, hey, there's a vaccine that's being pushed by the government in the year 20, this is, you know, you're telling me this in 2005 or something, and they're going to try and get everybody to get vaccinated. There's going to be vaccine passes.
Sorry, 3 times now. 3 freaking times we're saying the trigger word.
You ask me, do I think that they're going to do that? Like I had people in my life that I know how they're going to act in that situation, right? I wouldn't have assumed it would have necessarily, like I think you had a different reason for it, but there's some people like our parents and stuff. Like I knew exactly how they were going to feel about that stuff, right? Just because I know them well enough that it wasn't a surprise. Like, yeah, it wasn't a surprise to me. Yeah,
you know, they were doing it before it was cool 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like they were doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were doing it when it was weird. You know, and it's still, you know, and it's just it's funny, but like I don't know. At the end of the day, we don't need to stick too much on this topic. Like I like to look forward and think, like, regardless of that, how you know, the fact that how things are now is going to influence everyone's opinion from it if that happens again, right? And
yeah, and when things fall apart,
each way we want, right?
It's an opportunity to rebuild everything, right? So we should just be trying to build up our trust and institutions and all that BS.
Yeah.
You know. Anyways, let's get back to the video. Yeah. No, it's anyways. Yeah, let's stick back. I talk to my dad all the time. Liberal race leadership. Let's get back on topic, guys.
So it looks like Chrystia Freeland is in. There have been hints and suggestions from her camp, but the biggest clue came today with this social media post, a statement that reads, "I'm running to the party that they expected to launch her."
This is a pretty good representation where the country's at right now. So, who do you think can recover? Like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's no parties in between the Liberal and Conservative. This is literally the lead the Conservatives have right now. So, this is by Nanos Research.
So brutal.
Like, you're a dead party walking every, like, you're not, like, look at both like the Bloc might become official opposition at this rate, guys. Like look at this. Like, it's just like, how are they gonna, like, you know, when people say that Nanos polling is like the most liberal polling, think about this. This is sugar coated. This is the situation as nicely as you can present it, more than likely. Like, there's nothing, like, I'm sorry, if you don't like conservative, you're in for conservative government coming.
I've accepted it. I've assumed that that's what's going to happen, and anything, if we can even just come back a little bit,
So
then
for those
that's,
just listening,
that's
sorry,
a win in my books.
it's a 47% for federal and voting intention for the Conservatives, 19.6%, down 3.5 points from last one that we covered for the Liberals, and 17.9%, down 2.1 points for the NDP. It's just like,
This is voting into
it's over. It doesn't matter who you put in charge. It's over. And that's what people need to realize. Whoever they put in charge, best case scenario is just going to secure official opposition. But I still think it's good to know who they are, because as we've seen what Pierre's been able to do, the official opposition can cause you a lot of headaches. It can make your life pretty difficult. Yeah. So
anything can happen.
You never know, right? I just thought it'd be good to cover that. So yeah, that's the current polling.
We begin with the Liberal leader.
Yeah, so like, I don't know, take it with a grain of salt, it's polls, but I feel like what we were able to learn from that is that whoever this Liberal leader is becoming, they're not going to be able to take the next term. However, there is a good chance they will be prime minister for a very short period of time. And a lot of that depends on Jagmeet Singh and what he does, and if he's really going to put his money where his mouth is now that he's got his pension.
Leadership race and its newest but highly anticipated entry. Former Cabinet Minister, Finance Minister, and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland says she is in, announcing on social media, "I'm running to fight for Canada." Her official launch will be this Sunday in Toronto. Freeland joins former central banker Mark Carney, who launched his campaign yesterday, and Minister Karina Gould, who is expected to join the race this weekend. Other lesser-known candidates have said they intend to run.
Oh yeah, Jaime Batiste. I forgot about him. First Indigenous candidate, I guess, is what they're. That's what I mean. Is I feel like he's, I don't know, somehow going to get the money. Frank Baylis is who the billionaire Baylis, as I call him. So Saul rolls his eyes when I say that. But he is quite wealthy, quite well established, similar circles as Mark Carney, from what I get from things. Former Quebec Liberal MP. Chandra Arya is the lowest support within the Liberal Party. He's got like a 2% support within the Liberal Party in terms of the internal Liberal Party polling of voting intention for the Liberal leader. Jaime Batiste, I'm not sure where he stands on that. I know he just recently threw his name in the ring. So,
including Liberal.
Now Frank, I think, was at a 5 or 6 when I looked at it. Chrystia Freeland was at 22, and Carney was at like a 27.
MPs Chandra Arya and Jaime Batiste, and former Liberal MP Frank Baylis. And these are the initial contenders who have opted not to run, the latest being Minister of Energy and Natural Resources Jonathan Wilkinson. Wilkinson, like other cabinet ministers, wants to focus his energy on dealing.
Yeah, all of these people who originally, like I said, they're going to drop like flies. Like they literally all these people had their name in. And granted, Christy Clark was grandirized, a little bit grandier, but she had stronger polls than Frank Baylis within Liberal voters. So she had a better chance of getting it than Frank Baylis at the first poll I saw, until all the crap happened, and then she ended up lying on air, and then it's just like all that stuff. Like it's so quickly, her entire campaign just went, all right, gone, like just vanished. Like she just dropped out. And then Francois Philippe Champagne, Anita Anand, and Melanie Joly, Jonathan Wilkinson, Stephen McKinnon all dropped out after the rules were announced. People might say, oh, maybe because only non-Canadian citizens can't vote anymore. But that's one thing. But not to mention, it was a $350,000 entrance fee to enter the race, the highest fee in history in any political party in Canada. So it's a pretty steep fee to join. So
with the U.S. and Donald Trump. With 3 big contenders officially joining the race, the Liberal leadership contest is starting to shape up. Alberta Liberal MP George Chahal is backing Mark Carney. He introduced him at his launch yesterday in Edmonton, even though he's a Calgary MP. And George Chahal joins me now. George Chahal, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me, David. Pleasure to be here.
You were one of the MPs who told the Prime Minister to his face it was time for him to go, so the party could change leaders and change course. Why is Mark Carney the right guy to do that?
Well, thank you, David, for having me. And I think Mr. Carney, at this time in our history, is the right leader. He's experienced. He has the credentials to lead us, especially when Canadians have gone through a difficult time. We've seen the cost of living issue, the kitchen table issues that I hear from my constituents top of concern over the last years. And now with the threat of Trump tariffs on Canada, we need strong economic leadership. And I think Mr. Carney provides that with his experience being the Bank of Governor of Canada and also of the United Kingdom. He's navigated economies through difficult times, and he's the perfect person.
This guy stole out of mailboxes. That's why you're calling him a porch pirate? I didn't understand what that meant. I'm like, oh, I didn't know what you were calling him. I was just moving past the 2 cents, but now I get it. Okay, so you're calling it, he stole it. What did he steal out of mailboxes? I'm curious more about this because he's like the main rally or behind Carney because of his riding is where Carney grew up, I believe, or spent most of his youth.
To have here in Canada now to lead us forward.
So why Team Freeland after everything that's happened in the past month?
Well, I go back to 2013, and that was.
Okay, he was talking about elbows and knees, guys. Chill out.
A time when we were in 3rd place, we didn't have a lot of hope. We had an incredible leader. And Chrystia left an incredible career where she was.
So it is tomorrow then, eh? Oh, I might have to then, honestly. We'll see. Because if I stream tomorrow, that means I get no days off until next weekend. But we'll see.
Renowned for the work she was doing as a journalist and as an editor with, the Financial Times, Washington Post, Globe and Mail, Reuters.
All right, no worries, Adam. See you later.
And took a chance on a 3rd place party with promise of nothing. But I saw somebody when I was knocking on doors who really bled our cause, cared about us in over 12 years. I've never stopped seeing that. And I've been so impressed by her tenacity, how she dealt with NAFTA and protected the interest of this country. And in her private life before, how she took on Putin and the Soviet Union and human rights abuses there. So, on a personal level, it was a clear choice for me. I know her well. I know who she is, and I'm proud to support her.
Okay, but what about what happened on the 16th of December, Minister? I mean, that resignation letter was a bit of a shrapnel grenade for the entire Liberal cabinet and caucus with what she said and the way she did it. And she hasn't spoken since, so we really don't know her full story on this. But that was widely seen as pretty damaging to your party. How do you look past that? Because I know some Liberals I speak with, and I'm sure you speak with, they can't. They have a real problem with that.
Yeah, and I understand that. And, for me, I put it in its context of working with her over 12 years and on all of the work that she's done. And I think that, we're a party that has to have room for dissent and different opinions. Our party has survived a lot of dissent. I think we see on the other side of the aisle a party where there's no room for a different opinion, where there's no room for debate or to share a different idea. I don't think we can be that party. And I think as a party, we have to be a party. We have to come together, be able to find a way to find a common ground, because the differences that are between us are very, very small compared to what Poilievre would do to this country. And so for me, I think it's put in its proper context, and it's important that we come together and fight this battle as a team. I'm going to be supporting with every inch of my effort whoever is successal in this leadership campaign.
Monday, I'll be covering the inauguration. We'll be watching it live as well. Not sure what time. I think it's pretty early, so we'll probably have to start pretty early. But I know CBC is starting their live stream at like 7 a.m. I think it might be a little bit later than that, though, but it might be like an hour later. So it might be like 8 a.m. PST. But I'll check it out and we'll come up with an exact time. I'll have that. I'll probably put it up the night before just to have it ready to go. It's really easy when it's something like this big because I know exactly we're going to be covering it, so I can get everything ready the night before. And then I'll put it up so you guys can and I'll post in the Discord. The waiting room will be up. So then we'll start it whenever it goes live. I think 12 EST time. Okay, so like 9. So I'll probably start around 8:30 a.m. PST then if I can. Just trying to start as early as possible there. But yeah, I'll let you guys know exactly when that is. No worries, Rhonda. See you later. Yeah, we're pretty much just about over. But just in case you missed it, so starting next week, we're gonna have a bit of a new normal schedule. Not really a full concrete schedule, but I'll still be streaming just as much, possibly even more with this new schedule. I will not be doing 2 streams, but I won't be. There's been times where I've had to like really cut the stream short, kind of a lot of the time. So yeah, they're not that easy. You're very misinformed, MEW, if you think it's that easy. But anyways, thanks for the live stream, guys, as well. Yeah, we'll don't worry, it's 2 cents. Yeah, so we'll be back Monday, possibly tomorrow. I'll let you guys know in the Discord if we'll be doing anything tomorrow. But I think more than likely we might just touch up. But just because the inauguration's happening Monday, I might do the extra stream. I'm not 100% yet. I got to look more in depth of what will be happening. All this time. Yeah, whatever. So essentially whenever we end up getting to, but anyways, that's all I have time for today, but I'll be hanging out in the Discord if anyone wants to hop in there. I'm just gonna be working on some stuff. The merch store Blonde Law talked about got me thinking now. I want to start working on that. So if anyone wants to hop in the Discord, I'll be chilling in there for a while. Off stream when I come talk, chat about politics, whatever, chat about the channel, just shoot the shit about whatever. I don't care. I'm all for it. Just be kind of cool to connect with you guys. So I know on stream it's a little bit different. There's some pressure being on camera. So yeah, we'll do it off stream, just in the Discord there. So yeah, we'll hopefully see some of you there. But anyways, if not, I'll take care. See you Monday. And yeah, we'll stay grounded out there and we'll be watching the inauguration live. See you later, guys. Have a good day.